Sorry, Adria Bernardi. Adria Bernardi is a prolific writer who began writing about life in Highwood, and her houses with names and yet another one that just captured the spirit and the sound of the language of the people from Modena who settled in Highwood. Adria, it's been a long time.
Hi, Dominic. It's good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for organizing this. Hi, Gloria Nardini. It's good to see you too.
Hi, Adria.
Hi there. So I wasn't quite sure, what I wanted to bring to this discussion. And so I just kind of thought I would talk a little bit about, my kind of the work that I've done, because it all is really comes back to the questions that we've been talking about here. And so I guess that is what I thought about. What would be important to me to bring into a discussion, in the event there is a second volume. And so that was how I was thinking about it. My work over the years as a writer and translator from Italian has shared this commonality. It's an investigation into language, which, it's interesting that Dominic mentioned sound, and how language is made up of many languages. The idea of assembling a whole out of parts, and the relationship between rupture or trauma and generativity. I think that's the commonality for my creative work and for the translations that I've done from the Italian. The oral history, Houses with Names, The Italian Immigrants of Highwood, Illinois, was an investigation into individual and collective memories of the people who lived in the community where my grandparents settled and where my mother settled after they emigrated. And their immigration was really in the 20s, and my mother emigrated with her mother in 1939, right before the war. And my great-grandfather, my paternal grandfather's father, had come before the First World War, as did my grandfather's later on, to work in coal mines in Texas. And so there's this idea of, nothing is linear. It's all broken, and then sometimes it connects back, and sometimes you don't know what happens in those spaces of rupture. And so I after writing Houses with Names, I was 10 years out of college, and I went back and I got a master's in Italian language and literature. And then that's what opened up the door for me to my translating work. And the first thing that I translated was the poetry, which was written in a dialect of Tonino Guerra. And he wrote in his poetry in Romagnol, which is very close. It's not the same, but it was close to my ear of the dialect I heard growing up of my grandparents, and my father, who spoke only in dialect with his parents, and my mother, who only spoke standard Italian. And so she and her mother spoke in standard Italian, and everybody else spoke dialect. And I was that kid. I was the first of the grandchildren on both sides. So I spent so much time among them, basically listening and not speaking. So I think that has informed me as a writer and as a translator. My first works of fiction were really all about language, memory, place, and displacement. What you can only really say in Italian, spostamento, this moving away from something. And then the new novel that I have coming out in August, which is called Benefit Street, is again about rupture and breaking. This one is different in that it is not about Italy or Italian American community. It is about another. It is about another community. So just to finish, in my mind there are two commonalities to my work that I'm interested in seeing brought to a broader conversation of the broader conversation of today. One is about language, that I have been aware from the beginning that I really function, quote unquote, in 4 different languages. And my interior discussion is in English, it's in Italian, it's in dialect, it's in French, it's in different versions of the dialect. And those of us who have that experience know what that is, that it's a continual navigating back and forth. And so that makes another language. So I'm interested in that. And I'm also interested in, I think, how I see all of my work is that it's about fragments and fragmentation, which includes silence, and trying to make something whole of that. And so I think what I keep coming back to is that it's really only through generativity. You know, I think about the home places of language and of values of ethics that inform me, that of course came from my grandparents. And that is a way to make some kind of whole out of fragments. And I think, like many of you, I think the experiences of watching the last 6 months with the displacements and the refugees from Afghanistan and now from Ukraine, it's very personal. It's not an abstraction, because while it's not the same experience, you know, I see the refugees and I think, well, even if many of them aren't going back, and now they will have to make this new life somehow. And so those are, I think, 2 of the main investigations of my work, and I'm interested in work that explores that as well. So thanks to everybody. It's a wonderful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adria. Any questions, comments on Adria's work? That was very analytical, and that's I am the opposite of analytical, so I could benefit from more of your perspective. So thank you very much, and we'll keep you in touch keep everyone in touch with any progress that we make here.
Okay,
And
do that.
very good. Thank you, Adria.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.